everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. There are headsets in the back just in case you need them. I'm going to try my best to project, but I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if my voice goes in and out, so bear with me. So first of all, thank you for making it to build day 2. And we are so happy to have a full house. And because of that, you get 2 talks in 1. So my name is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. I am a product manager here at Microsoft working on Foundry tools. And I am joined by my friend over here, Joe Flick, who works on content understanding. So thank you for joining our talk. Turn your agents into action with tools, APIs, and documents. So let's go quickly through what our session agenda is going to happen. We're going to do a brief announcement. But believe me, we know you come here for the demos. We will give you the demos. We will give you the content to the demos. And then we're just going to have closing remarks. But I think we need to start this with what does it mean to build an agent platform here at Microsoft? Well, it starts with building on GitHub, using Foundry as your platform where you can have your agent runtime, optimize your agents, and have all the tools that you need. And you can distribute these tools through M365. So let's zoom in a little bit more on the tool that I sit in. Like, I work on Microsoft Foundry. Microsoft Foundry allows for you to have your agent services, models, IQ, tools, a control plane, and we enable you to govern the life cycle from cloud to edge, right? I have been working on Foundry tools along with my colleague over here, Linda. And we are providing this single hub for people to have pre-built tools, third-party tools, while providing you with the enterprise-grade scalability that you need. So in summary, with Foundry tools, we want to have this one place for all your tools, regardless of tool types, to exist. But before we jump into tools, let's talk about the single most important capability that your agent needs. So agents and tools are rapidly growing. And this is leading to a host of problems. So LLMs provide you with the reasoning for your tool, for your agent. Tool calling is what enables your agent to perform an action, right? And this is how your agents provide real business value. But what are the problems that we are seeing with our customers? There have been thousands of papers written about this when you're trying to integrate tools into your agentic application. They steer it. Finding the right tools for the jobs. The tool ecosystem is rapidly growing. Who remembers a time when all we had was MCP? Who remembers the time we're in now? Right? There's skills, there's plugins, there's APIs, there's connectors, there's going to be foobar, xbar, it's going to continuously grow. So how do we steer our tools in the right direction? There's sprawling. How do we manage the tools? How do we make sure they're securely in the place and they're easily published? And then there's security, controlling the tools. And it has to be incredibly important for us to keep these secure because tools reach into your production code and generate results. They're reaching into your databases, they're reaching into your APIs, and we have to make sure that not only the agent has access to the right amount of tools and securely, but so do the individuals who are leveraging your agents as well. So, what does solving this problem look like? I wish I could tell you, here's a single solution and it's done, but unfortunately, that is not the case. This is an ecosystem made up of various components where we are investing in Foundry. We have the tool catalog, which is about discovering and publishing and installing your tools. That sounds easy. The next one is tool creation. You curate a set of tools that your agent needs in order to complete a specific task. And then how do you actually get that curated list and share it amongst every single agent that you might be controlling? There's tool discovery. Now, sometimes when people think about tool discovery, they think it's about you searching on a registry and finding the right tool. That's not tool discovery. Tool discovery is choosing the best tool to complete the task while using the limited amount of tokens. How many of you want to use less tokens? Oh, not a lot of people. Okay, you guys just like spend all the tokens, right? So that's when tool discovery comes. And tool governance. This is a conversation that we hear from our customers all the time. I love these tools. They're amazing. But I don't want Maria to have the same access of tools that Linda does, because Linda is better at her job, right? So like those are the things that we're putting together in terms of tool governance. So the tool catalog, let's start at the beginning. You have thousands of tools, probably soon millions of tools, and you have multiple tool types. And in Foundry, we want to make sure that you have all of those in one place. So let's look at the tool types. The tool landscape is growing, and it's not about just the number of tools, it's about the types of tools. We have Open API. You're all used to this. We have MCP, we have A2A, we have logic app connectors, we have skills, we have CLIs, we have hooks, we have plugins, and so much more. So how do we make sure that all our developers and our entire ecosystem can find all these tools in a single place? Last year, I worked to build the tools catalog. We shipped it in 2025. We have one on Foundry where we have a host of tools custom built from the ecosystem. But in addition to that, if you need your own private registry, you can do it as well with Azure API Center and Azure API Management that allows to give you that additional governance. So we solved the catalog problem, right? You can get all your tools in one place. So I want you to imagine this. Just go with me on this journey, right? It's a short one, I promise you. You only have me for 20 minutes, right? So we have the catalog, and developers can find the right tools. But finding the right tools and integrating the tools are two different problems. So imagine you're building a FieldOps agent for your company. And you have this one agent that has 6 integrations: Entra, SharePoint, ticketing, your own custom MCP or API, access to your teams, blob storage, Azure Search. So this sounds simple, right? Does it sound simple to people? It sounds simple to you? Okay, it sounds simple. Okay, you're not convinced, right? So, no, it is not simple, because every single one of those tools has its own identity, is built from a different team, has a various set of protocols, right? And has different credential management. Now, multiply that with every single integration you need for that one FieldOps agent, but then you also have your customer support agent, your billing agent, your networks agent, your inventory agent. And what seems like 6 integrations ends up being hundreds of integrations, not taking into account things like permissions, failures in debugging. And what we find is developers are spending more time doing integrations and less time doing what makes them money and makes their business better, which is building agents. So you might remember this from earlier. What's missing that we need to solve in the agentic ecosystem? Tool creation, tool discovery, and tool governance. Being able to curate the set of tools for your agent, being able to minimize the amount of tokens and over-bloating into your agent in the context window, and being able to securely govern them. And we think that Toolbox is the beginning of the promise to enable that to happen. And this was in Satya's keynote earlier yesterday. But what is a toolbox? A toolbox is a reusable bundle of tools managed in Foundry that agents consume through a single consistent interface regardless of tool type. That is a lot of words. So let's pay attention to a couple of them. Reusable. You should be able to build a set of toolboxes and be able to use it, build it once, use it across any single agent. Managed. Foundry handles the life cycle for you, so you don't have to. And finally, a consistent interface. Your agent shouldn't have to care what the underlying tool type is, whether it is an MCP, OpenAI API spec, skill, or a connector. we give you one unified endpoint with one auth and one experience that you can integrate into any single agent. So, what are we doing with our toolboxes? We have 4 pillars. Build. You create tools. You create tools in a named, reusable bundle, configure and publish them. So if you go back to our FilzOp agent, you could have your FilzOp toolbox. So rather than having your Entra configuration, your SharePoint configuration, and all the others, you're putting it in a single toolbox regardless of tool type. You have discovery. This is the ability that when the agent makes a request through a prompt to the toolbox, it only retrieves the tool that it requires to complete the task. And then consuming. We have a single MCP compatible endpoint that exposes every tool to any agent runtime. So we're giving you the promise as we give you this unified endpoint, you can carry it across any single agent that you're building or leveraging for your business. And governed. We'll give you this centralized authentication and observability to monitor all your tool calls. And these are the features that we have built to do this. Toolbox is how you build them. Tool search is the tool we've built so you can actually search and discover your tools at runtime. The unified endpoint is an MCP compatible endpoint. And then control and visibility, where we enable you to add your own policies and guardrails. And in the future, we're also going to be giving you a governed dashboard where you can see it in more details. So the promise of Toolbox is you can consume it across any agent, hosted agent. You can use it in the GitHub Copilot or CLI, GitHub Copilot SDK. We want to get working in Claude Code as well, and soon you'll be able to use it also in your Microsoft Copilot Studio application. So the tool lifecycle management is that you build a toolbox and you consume a unified endpoint, and you know it's all going to be governed. So I promise that there will be demos, so fingers crossed, nothing breaks. So let's go and see some demos. All right. Yeah, so it's shown up. So I'm going to show you how you can build a toolbox. You can build a toolbox in code, or you can build it in the Foundry portal. But I wanted to start by showing you what tool configuration would look like if you did not have a toolbox today. So the first thing you need to do is you're configuring every single MCP endpoint separately. But where it gets really interesting is if I go down to line 33, all the way to line 104, that's all auth configuration for your application. And this is only 3 MCP servers. So imagine if you required multiple MCP servers, that could become a lot more robust very, very, very quickly. And imagine if you're doing different protocols, or like it just gets longer, and you shouldn't be spending time doing this. Also, this code doesn't run, it's 100% generated by AI. But we will have demos for you to share shortly. The next one is with Toolbox. That's it. I have configured authentication. I have all my servers in a specific toolbox. It will generate a URL for me, and I can then put that in any single application of my choice. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you in Toolbox is something that we have called Tool Search. And what Tool Search does, it is a tool within Toolbox that actually searches for the specific tool within the toolbox by leveraging and pulling all the metadata and finding the right one. So in that situation, you're not loading everything into the context window. You're only loading the tool that is required to complete the task. So in summary, if you look at this diagram, you can take a picture. You're going from manually wiring every single tool to your specific agent to just attaching it to a toolbox, which you expose to an agent through a unified endpoint. And then Tool Search enables the search and makes a decision. So this one says, I need GitHub. It just directly picks the GitHub toolbox. That is the only one that is loaded into the context window. Now, let me take you on a tour of what it looks like in Foundry. You can build a toolbox in Foundry. You can build it through code. You can also do it in the Foundry through the Foundry toolkit. I always get that thing mixed up in my mind, so sorry about that. So when I go into Foundry today, and I click on Build, you're going to present it, and you go to Tools, you're going to notice that there is Toolbox, Tools, and surprise, surprise, Skills. So I'm going to start with Skills, and I'm going to end on Toolbox. So you all saw that really snazzy image that I created, right? I bet you all loved it. Let's say I wanted to share it with everybody on my team. I built a skill that enables me to make better architectural diagrams. And it works pretty well. So I can go in here, upload a skill, browse from my desktop, if I can find it. There it is. There's my art skill. I will also make this available in the repo just in case you want it. Give it a name. Okay, must have lowercase. And if this uploads successfully, I'll know every single other demo is going to be absolutely magnificent. It uploaded, right? So now this is available to any single agent that is in my specific project. Now, I told you how tools are constantly growing. And I am very excited to share that browser automation is available today. This is one of the new tools that we have delivered. Built on Playwright, this enables you to scrape information and fill in forms. So let me just show you a quick demo. Now, as a person who is a horrible typer, I'm going to copy and paste unapologetically and try to see if this runs. If it doesn't, the browser automation team is here in the room. I'll get them on stage, and we'll get this running, right? So, fingers crossed. If not, I promise you I have a GIF that actually demonstrates that this works. Okay, while that's happening, I'll pretend to one that I did earlier. And there you go. It sends it over. And you will see in a moment, what has happened here is that we've put in a request. What it's going to do is automatically fill in a Microsoft form. Okay. Going back. And that's browser automation. Okay. The next thing I wanted to show you is how you can create and build a toolbox. Go into Foundry, click Toolbox, create, give it a name, and you'll see the option to add tools, which shows you every single tool that's in the catalog, as well as an option to add skills. So I could add the skill that I just created. Okay, there's no skills in this project. Okay. So while this loads, give me 1 second. Yeah, we're going to switch screens because I've been having permission issues. Now you know this demo's live, but this demo is also going to be live. Who says CEOs are the only people who get demo ghosts in the background? I have one too. Okay. All right. Is it good? Yes, it worked perfectly. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to create a toolbox. You saw I added one. So I have a toolbox here that Linda created for me as a backup. And you'll notice there's an option for you to turn tool search on. So I'm just going to turn that off for a moment. I'm going to set this one as default. And this is going to set the endpoint in my hosted agent to this specific toolbox version. So when I go over to my agent, and I am going to say, find me 𝗦𝗲𝘀3. Let's see if this works. Okay. All right. Not working. It is fine. It is fine. It means that there are just too many people. So, okay, something's happening. All right, this is a good sign. So what this is doing, it is going into a work order, finding me the work order, and it should generate me to see if the work order is complete and if the parts are available. Okay, it worked, right? That was a live demo. Thank you for your patience, right? Okay, so I don't want to eat into too much of Joe's time, so I'm just going to show you one last thing. In Toolbox, when I go back, you will notice that you are given a unified endpoint. You can take this unified endpoint into any single application of your choice. So I want to show you one that is actually running. You can go there today. Oh, I forgot. Which one? Oh, the third tab? Oh, yes, the 𝗲𝗲𝗶cie agent. So 𝗲𝗲𝗶cie agent is using the exact same MCP endpoint. And I want to show you, this is all hosted in an Azure Container App. It's going to run the work order. And I want you to pay particular attention to the activity live. And the activity view, once it is working, it will show you which tools are called, from tool search, and how it was loaded. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to you, Joe, because we are short on time. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Maria. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to jump back to PowerPoint. All right, so far we've seen how Toolbox solves problems with agents accessing tools, saves tokens on tool calls, but now we're going to talk about agents in the real world where all the content you want doesn't come from APIs. Often the content you need is in a document, it's in a video, it's in a PowerPoint deck, and the agent needs to go access that content. But when agents try to access that content, they often break. They scramble, costs grow, you use more tokens. The agent tries to write custom code to go crack that PowerPoint. It might go miss content. It might go and try to find a table but not be able to access the data in the table. These are the kind of problems we built Content Understanding to solve. So Content Understanding takes messy, multimodal content and turns it into clean, structured, agent-ready output. So you can see here, any kind of file can come into Content Understanding. It gets parsed, classified, extracted, and turns into structured JSON with key value pairs and markdown that represents the details of what's in that file with high fidelity. And this isn't just a brand new service. This has been in GA'd since last 6 months ago, and it's been in production for a year and a half. Foundry IQ uses it as its content extraction layer to make sure it has the highest fidelity version of the input to give you as grounding for your agents. And Microsoft 365 Copilot uses it when you ask a question about a document or PDF. But what's most interesting about Content Understanding is not how we use it, it's how our customers use it. So we worked with customers like Wolters Kluwer. They build trusted professional tools for tax automation, legal, and healthcare. And they use Content Understanding in their CCH Access Tax product. They use it to ingest things like tax forms, supporting documents for taxes, other financial documents, and make sure they come in structured format so that they can automate your processing end-to-end for your tax prep. Also, Data Snipper is an agentic platform for audit and finance. They use content understanding to power their AI extraction capability. It's powered by content understanding, and it allows them to take any kind of document and bring it directly into Excel, where financial professionals want to live, in structured format. They talk about it as enabling faster reviews, more reliable evidence, and trustworthy AI. So with that context, we're going to dive deeper into what content understanding is, and then we'll come back to see the agent in that 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗀 demo in practice. So content understanding is a pipeline, a single pipeline that does parse, extract, and classify. Parse allows you to take any kind of input document and turn it into Markdown. Then classify decides what kind of document that thing is, or breaks it into pieces that are relevant to your scenario. And then extract allows you to get key value pairs or structured content that's relevant for your particular documents out of that content. And this same pipeline is available for any modality. So you can bring in any kind of file, a video, an image, a document, a PDF, even old files like zip files or email files can come in, and there's a custom tailored solution that gives you the best results for that file type. We're improving content understanding with broad coverage of and quality integrations. Here you can see we have broad coverage with new file types supported, better quality with the GPT-5 family of models being added as an engine for running extraction and classification, and then easier integration with support for logic apps, agent framework, LangChain, Markdown, a set of open source tools that allow you to use this extraction as a part of your agent runtime. So let's drill into the improvements by each area. Parse is where we apply Microsoft's OCR and layout technology that we've refined over 20 years and still maintain as state-of-the-art, continuing to improve it as new things come out in the industry. This gives you detailed extraction of tables, of multilingual documents, even this like crumpled page, we're able to extract some details off of it to enable you to parse that content. It's the foundation of search ingestion for Foundry IQ, and we see here's some new things coming for parse. In Foundry IQ, one of the key advancements we get from using content understanding that we'll see in the demo is that we can extract tables well from a document and give you structured Markdown to ground your agent. We also can extract detailed representations of figures, like charts and diagrams from documents, so that you don't lose that content as you ingest it into your system. Next, we'll show classification. So once I do parse, then I might want to classify this document, identifying the type of document it is, or breaking a long document up into logical parts. Many times, enterprise documents aren't just one document, they're a set of documents in a package. So I might have a case file, an application bundle, or a tax submission. It's not just one document, it's a bunch of different things all combined in one thing. So content understanding allows you to define the classes you want to identify, throw away some parts of the document, identify the key parts that you care about, and extract the right information from each piece. And coming in July will enable you to split your documents not just on the page boundaries, but also on the section boundaries as well, as that's a key ask from customers where the boundaries in documents don't fall neatly on page boundaries often. And so now in content understanding, the classification doesn't either. Now for extraction. Extraction allows us to parse content into structured fields and structured output. You get key value pairs, confidence scores, and grounded results. So each of these fields extracted aren't just a completion from an LLM, they're grounded back to a bounding box in the document, a word, a sentence in the document, so you can go directly back into the file to find where that content came from. And they also give you a confidence score that allows you to auto-approve when confidence is high and route to human review when it isn't. This is what allows customers to build real automation workloads on top of tools like content understanding. And here's what's coming next with Extract. In July, we're shipping a new training process using knowledge sources so that you can improve extraction on the documents that matter to you. If you have a specific document, like a tax form, a financial document that matters to your industry for your workflow, you can provide some examples. Content Understanding will train on that file and improve its results. Also, we'll ship new pre-built analyzers that will have significant cost reductions over in terms of tokens. They'll be much more efficient. And we'll also ship agentic extraction. So I'm going to drill in a little bit on agentic extraction. So it's coming in July. Content Understanding extraction does a good job at finding answers and summarizing data in a document. But there's another class, a broader class of use cases that it doesn't do a great job with today. Those cases are when an answer needs to be built, not found. Built step by step by reasoning across content in the file. When you're asking a question like, for this contract and this set of amendments, which clause applies in this across this entire chain of changes to this contract, or how could I root cause this issue? Just finding a specific value in the file isn't good enough. You need to reason across the files to answer those kind of hard problems. So that's what agentic mode will allow you to do with content understanding. For the hardest problems where standard content understanding doesn't work, you can turn on agentic and get the best possible extractions and from content understanding. So this is coming in July. We don't have a live demo here, but I'm going to show a quick recorded demo here. So this is using the same grounding documents that we showed this morning in a demo session, demo 331. You can grab this QR code and go get that repo if you're interested. But in that demo, we show extracting from a very complicated fiber optic cable failure scenario. So I have this document that describes the fiber optic cable failure, the history of how it happened. And so what I do is I ask agentic mode, I set a set of questions to it in the schema. The set of questions would be things like, what's the root cause? How much is it going to cost to fix? Is it on budget? And by setting those questions in the prompt or in the schema, Content Understanding agentic mode is able to use a set of tools to reason across this big corpus of evidence and loop over it to get a good answer. Here, it's not just doing a one-shot. It's able to search across it. And if I look at what it actually does here in the trace, it's able to go find specific evidence in the documents. It's able to ask follow-up questions about images, to run calculations and code. And by doing so, it's able to capture a set of evidence to support the final answer and give me a root cause that's well grounded in the input data. So ultimately, I'm able to get a root cause, a cost analysis, and get the right answer for this question that would otherwise be require me to do a bunch of custom coding to build. So with that, I'm going to jump into the fiber optic agent that Maria showed earlier and show how content understanding can work in that context. First, we're going to show how content understanding works for Foundry IQ ingestion, and then we'll show it as a context provider. Okay, so here's my demo. Let's see if my mouse works. There we go. So same agent that we saw earlier with Maria, but you'll notice on the left side over here, we have a set of options. There's what Foundry IQ knowledge source it's using and what context provider the agent is using to process files as their input. So I'll start with Foundry IQ knowledge source that's minimal, that doesn't use content understanding to process documents. I'm asking it a specific question here about this F3 fiber, and it needs to ground it in this document. You can see here this F3 fiber has a set of measurements against it. I'm actually asking it about this 1310 answer, and there's actually no evidence about what the measurement was on that fiber. But the agent tells me it's 46. So the agent generates an ungrounded result here. But what we're going to see is, let's see what happens when I turn on content understanding. When I turn on content understanding on this file, I'll show you what the output looks like. So this maintenance log that we just saw will generate, content understanding will generate this structured markdown representation that allows me to see that missing value right there. If I use a simple PDF parser, I can easily miss that missing value because it just gets lumped into this long list. But in fact, when I turn on standard mode with content understanding, it tells me there's no recorded separate value here. So it gives me the right answer now to this difficult question, understanding the details of what's in this file. So I also might have another case where someone emails me a file with a work order in it, and I need to give it to the agent. So I take this docx file, I give it to my agent, I say, can you answer some questions about this file, and add it into my workflow system using the toolbox that Maria said earlier. But actually, docx files aren't supported by my agent, because typically agent harnesses have very limited file support. This is one of the things that I can fix by turning on content understanding as a context provider. So context providers in Agent Framework allow you to pre-process files and generate a text version that you give to your agent. So I can turn that on, but I'm going to test one other thing first. I can also just pass a PDF to my agent. In this case, the agent can receive PDFs, but again, it's using a low quality parser by default, so it gives me incorrect answers. So for example, here I asked about this work order 89. It tells me it's scheduled. But if I look, work order 89, it's completed. So it gives me the wrong answer for what's in this file. So I'm going to turn on content understanding, go back and do the same thing again. I'll show you what the results look like for this file here. Here's what content understanding generates for the output. Again, a nice structured table. You can also see here in this file, I have these charts that are here. And content understanding gives me a JSON representation of the data in that chart so that I don't lose the context of what's in that chart when I go into my agent. I can ask questions about that chart now as well. Coming back here, it tells me that work order 89 is complete. It's exactly what the PDF says. Now it knows what's there because I've given it a good structured representation of that content. Sometimes this isn't good enough. Sometimes I ask a question about a file and the file itself is complicated, it's hard to interpret. So I'll show an example here. This is a work order. You can see here, I'm asking who's the field technician on this work order. There's this 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, he's actually the field technician, but there's these other people mentioned, like the site contact John Smith. I need to give the agent some guidance of how to process this file, how to interpret it. Without guidance, it says the field technician is John Smith. The wrong answer. So I can give it guidance. One way I can give it guidance is by creating a classify, an extract, analyzer, and content understanding so that it has a predefined way to process this file. So I'm going to switch on the right to a context provider that uses an analyzer from content understanding and rerun the same question. So I'll show you real quick what this analyzer does. Here's a copy of this analyzer in Content Understanding Studio, which is one way I can visualize and edit these analyzers. Here you can see this analyzer classifies the input document. It says, is it a work order? And with a description of what a work order is, or is it something else? I could have a list of hundreds of things that I want to classify here. I could also classify pages, page by page, or section by section, as we talked about earlier. But in this case, I'm just going to classify the whole file. Is this a work order or not? And when I get a work order, it's going to extract the technician, and I have some guidance here about how to pick up a technician. It tells it this route thing is how you know who the technician is. And now I have this standard business rules for my content that I've encoded in my agent by calling this content understanding analyzer on the input. And by doing that, it's able to give me the right answer. 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is the field technician. This is exactly what I see in the file. 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is the field technician. that got routed to this. And so by giving it instructions, my own business rules on this content, now I can get the right answer from these documents, even when it's a really hard question. So with that, I'm just going to come back and show, we showed here in this demo these 3 different scenarios where content understanding is super valuable. One is when you're using Foundry IQ. You can turn on content understanding, and then as part of your indexing process, you can extract the details of the structure of documents, getting figure descriptions, tables, all the structure with as little loss as possible into your index so that you get the right answers from indexes. And then when I upload a file in real time to my agent, I can use content understanding as a context provider. Or in LangChain, I can use the LangChain primitive for that as well. So I can plug it into my agent and process files incoming, allowing me to process any kind of file, not just a PDF, and also get the right answers for tricky files. And then I can also encode my business rules using content understanding. So I know how to process a work order or a tax file or whatever the type of documents I care about. I can get that accurately represented with content understanding. And with that, I think Marie is coming back, and we're going to... Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I tried my best to show you how everything worked, but I promise you this all works. So I wanted to show if we have we have 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to try to get this done. I wanted to show you this. Yeah, thank you so much. I wanted to show you like an agent that was leveraging a unified endpoint in an agent freight land graph application. So this is similar to what we showed in 𝗬𝗲𝗀 and very similar to what you showed. And I wanted you to pay particular attention to the activity line. You'll notice that it's going into the toolbox, loading a skill. It's found 10 tools, but only selected 1. It is pulling that tool. It is checking the order, and it's generating the results back. So rather than loading every single tool into the context window, it selected 1. So I wanted to show you that this is real, and you can actually work on it. Now, the best thing is that you can try this. You can try this all out by going to ai.azure.com and going to Foundry. You can also get all our demo content in aks.ms, the build number of this account. And if you want to play around with the live demo that I just showed you, you can pull this up on your phone. You can pull this up on your computer right now, aka.ms/𝗬𝗲𝗀, and it will be up for the rest of the week. And we also have the demo code there. So join our Discord on Foundry, try all our documentation. The demo gods work with me today. I should run my application locally later, but thank you so much for coming, and we'll be here asking questions. Like, we'll be down here. Yes? Rough, don't hold me to it. 2 to 3 months? Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.